All right, so today, as I mentioned, we're gonna get you guys acquainted with the startup competition. And the startup, this is the third year that we ran this competition. And a few things just to note about it. We'll go into some of these details as we go along that I think you'll find interesting. But we were trying to find a way to connect students to mentors in a way that they didn't have that opportunity before that. And so over the past several weeks, we've conducted tryouts for the startup competition, and we did those in TechArb. How many of you have been to TechArb before? Raise your hands high. All right, so not all that many of you. I would encourage you to visit sometime. TechArb is our student venture accelerator. So if you have an idea for a venture that you're working on and you actually want to start being a part of a community where other people are working on their ventures, then you can apply to be in TechArb, where you can get 24/7 access to that space. You get Wi-Fi, you get coffee, you get all those kind of necessary things, but you also get that community and mentorship being a part of that. So that's where we run the tryouts, and we had over 50 ventures try out, and on next week, we'll be bringing 21 of those ventures here to the stage, where you'll be able to see the things that they're working on, and they'll share their ideas, and they'll also, hopefully, be picked onto teams with some coaches. But what I'd like to do here is show you a little bit of what we've been doing in the past couple years with the startup. And we're going to start with our original promotional video that we did 2 years ago that's still relevant.
It's not a hackathon or a maker fair, business plan or pitch competition. This is the startup. The chance to turn your dream into a reality. It's a winner-takes-all opportunity for all of the things you need to make your venture go. Top quality mentorship, money, PR, and campus bragging rights to own the simple truth. There can only be one. The startup. Coming this January. Compete live on stage before a panel of 4 successful mentors. Like the TV show The Voice, mentors will compete to have you be part of their team. Once the 4 mentor teams are complete, the real fun starts. Your mentor will coach you and move your company forward as fast as possible. Because every few weeks, teams will be eliminated until only one is left standing. And that team will be crowned the startup.
All right, so that was the original start to the startup. And if you can pull up my slides there for me. How many of you are big fans of Shark Tank? Yeah, most people like to watch Shark Tank. And one of the things that we've noticed over the past several years is a lot of people think that that starting a startup is equivalent to being on Shark Tank. A lot of people think, hey, starting a startup is just about having an idea and then going to a place like Shark Tank or getting in front of venture capitalists, and next thing you know, you're just rolling in the money, right? And this is a trendy misconception that we have tried to overcome, actually, at the Center for Entrepreneurship and through competitions like the startup, because being a part of a startup is not just about pitching an idea. As we've talked about already in this class, like last week with Phil, being a part of a startup is actually a journey. And it's something that is a part of your life in a much deeper way than just showing up, pitching, and then ending up with a big investment. And so we see this all the time. Everyone wants to pitch and pitch and pitch. In fact, that's one of the most common questions I get in my office is people come in and say, hey, Matt, I have an idea. Can I pitch it to you? Or, hey, Matt, I have an idea and I'm going to a pitch competition. Can I pitch it to you? Can I practice my pitch? And it turns out that we care a lot about helping people get more than just a pitch. We want to put an emphasis on things other than just pitching. We want to see them grow. They need more than just being able to tell their story, although that's an important part. One of the problems we see with pitch competitions is you take some of the smartest, most experienced people around in the area, and you make them kind of the referees in the room, right? These smart experienced entrepreneurs, if you've been to a business competition, are usually sitting on the table opposite of you, and in fact, kind of being the referees, the naysayers, right? And everyone knows the referees are never in your favor. And so what we wanted to do is something a little bit different. What we wanted to do is find a way to get these three key elements for students and their ventures. Mentorship, we wanted them to have ongoing engagement, and we wanted them to have something that was meaningful for them to strive for, not just a one day, can I score a 10 out of a 10 from judges. And so we put these ideas together, trying to look at all the different ways that we provide mentorship, our courses, advising, competitions, looking at different ideas and products and all sorts of things going on. And what we said was, maybe what we need to do is get coaches for our mentors. So instead of having referees and judges, could we have coaches instead that guide ventures, that guide students through the process of their entrepreneurial journey? And so we started talking to our network. We found a whole lot of successful entrepreneurs that were willing to engage with students and provide some of their time for the students. These are some of the mentors that we've had over the past couple of years as we ran the startup. And so what we actually ended up doing was kind of taking a page out of the playbook of a popular TV show, The Voice, and said, hey, what if we just switch things around? So what if instead of having these judges who were judges, what if these judges became your mentors? And so what we put together was this opportunity for a student venture to have a journey with their mentors and be able to make progress throughout that process. So 4-month guided journey, and there's 4 check-ins along the way. 4 rounds, if you will, where you'll see the student teams come up here. And in between each of those rounds, those ventures are given advice and mentorship from their mentors, from their coaches. They're also given specialized training from the Center for Entrepreneurship. They're given specific objectives that they need to meet, and we'll kind of talk through what some of those are along the way. So as I mentioned, this week and last week, we've been going through auditions, and these teams would come in and share what they're working on. They would have some time to talk with the Center for Entrepreneurship staff and share their progress and the state of their venture. And then next week, those students, as I mentioned, will be able to come onto the stage and pitch. And it's really the only pitch of the whole competition. Now, they'll present things along the way, but in this one, they're pitching and hoping to get the attention of one of those 4 judges or mentors. At that point, they feel like judges, but then, as I mentioned, those mentors will pick different ventures to be on their team and then mentor them for the next several months. And so that's the pitch and pick round, which will happen next week. And where the magic really happens is, just like in the TV show The Voice, when one of those mentors decides to turn around and pick one of those teams, then that process of mentoring really starts. Occasionally what will happen, and this is what we'd like to see, is that 2 or 3 of the judges will all vie for one of those teams. And then of course those judges have to try to convince those teams that the team should pick them based on their experience and what they have to offer them. Then between that first round and second round, we asked the ventures to focus primarily on trying to better understand their customers. Those of you who have been a part of a venture, have been a part of a startup, will recognize that the most important thing for a startup to be successful is really understanding your customers and what their needs are. If you don't have something that customers really want, then it's really hard to make progress beyond that. And so we spend a lot of time helping them at the beginning try to understand their customers. And so you as an audience are going to be able to watch them, see what they're pitching, see their progress, and then be able to determine whether or not you think that they've made significant progress with regard to understanding their customers. So during that round, the mentors will give feedback and they'll identify which of their teams they think has best accomplished understanding their customers and offering true value for them. And then the audience will also be able to provide some feedback as well. The third round is focused on helping the teams go to market. And so they'll actually look at marketing strategies. How do they go from understanding their customers or potential customers to converting them into real customers? And so they'll get training in entrepreneurial marketing and then have to try to execute on that plan that they develop. And teams will go to a great extent to try to convince you that they've done that. And then the final round is what we call the launch and scale round. So at this point, the ventures should have a better understanding of what their business model is and should have significant progress in executing on that business model. And that last round actually is the round where we get the most audience participation. In the previous rounds, the mentors have some say in it, but in this last round, it's really up to an audience vote to determine, not exclusively, but more of an audience vote to determine which of these ventures they think is ready to truly launch and scale and grow from there and be most worthy and ready to use that money that they will win through the startup competition. And so this is a picture of our first round, our first season of the startup. And so as part of that, what I'd like to do is just share with you the final video for the winning team from that. And you'll get to see the extent to which this team was able to make progress through this process of mentoring and guidance and training along the way.
Hi, my name is Allison, and this story begins when a good family friend, Dr. Barry, passed away from ALS last summer. For one of my biomedical engineering classes, we had the opportunity to design any device of our choice. Dr. Barry immediately came to mind. I told Kyle about Dr. Barry, his illness, and his struggle to communicate. From this, Puffberry was born.
We spent the next weeks in the lab designing and creating the first Puffberry prototype. With a working prototype done, we wanted to find a way to continue developing our design and get it to the patients who needed it. But we were unsure how to go about doing this. We met with lawyers, patent experts, doctors, and FDA consultants to determine the feasibility of moving forward. This led us to a meeting with Matt Gibson at the Center for Entrepreneurship, who recommended we enter this new competition, the Startup. And so began our incredible startup journey.
When Tom called us on stage for our first pitch, we were nervous. We had 60 seconds to get the mentors to believe in us and turn their chairs around. Fortunately, our nerves did not get in the way, and we gained the mentorship of Adrian and Ryan. Their knowledge and help has been invaluable. They connected us with venture capitalists, device developers, and incubators for startups.
In round 2, we cold called ALSA chapters around the country and learned of new ways to improve our design by connecting to mobile devices and the internet. In round 3, we added the head of the University of Michigan ALS clinic to our team, as well as adding business and marketing experience. We proved to you that we could convert puffs of air to speech and spoke at the University of Michigan's TEDx conference.
For this final round, we've shown our business model canvas, external support from our followers, as well as the history that inspired the passion we have for Puffberry. Moving forward, your investment in us will allow us to pursue device development for a provisional patent and FDA and IRB approval.
This would better position us to be able to obtain a full utility patent for our design, as well as obtain full clinical trials for Puffberry. This will ultimately allow us to get our device to the patients who so desperately need it. We would not be where we are today without the generous advice and knowledge we have gained from so many people, including those listed here.
This competition has been truly invaluable to us. It has given us access to a wealth of resources that have helped us grow exponentially. Overall, this experience has made us confident in the future of Puffberry. Vote for us to give a voice to the voiceless. We are ready to speak up and speak out. Are you?
All right. So that was Puffberry. They were the winners of the first year. And with that, I would actually like to introduce to you Allison Powell. Hey, Allison. Good to see you. Why don't you take a seat here for just a minute. So we'd like to just talk about your experience for a minute with the startup and also find out what you've done since and you know what you're up to. So maybe start with telling us what was so compelling for you? Like, why was it that you wanted to get involved in this competition?
I think I honestly had no idea that I wanted to do anything along the lines of entrepreneurship. I came from northern Michigan. I'm from Traverse City. And I had never met a female engineer, and I came here, and I just really wanted to get into engineering and medicine. I created this device in a class with my co-founder, Kyle, and we just really wanted to get it to the people who needed it. And for us, we actually met with Matt Gibson the day that the application was due, and he suggested that we submit, and so we went right outside the office of CFE, sat down, and filled out the application. So it was definitely one of those instances of luck in the moment that we met with him the day that it was due, but we were really glad that we did.
That's great. And tell us about your experience working with mentors, Adrian and Ryan.
Yeah, that was very essential to learning some of the loops that two biomedical engineers may not understand yet. And I think that was actually a really good, both our mentors at University of Michigan and then outside with both of them was a really good viewpoint to start from, to learn more.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say was maybe the hardest part about being a part of transitioning from just an idea to actually trying to make something with that idea and using entrepreneurial principles?
I think some of the hardest parts is realizing how much you need to ask for help, because as engineers, we really think that we can always find a solution. And for us, realizing who to ask, when to ask, and really that you should just try to ask. And we ended up emailing all of the associate professors that were related in BME to our project, and 3/4 of them answered pretty immediately. So just realize the resources that you have here. Once we realized that, I think that's what really got us to shoot up in our understanding of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, you definitely were able to. I remember, in fact, it was on that video, the list of people who ended up being a part of what you guys were doing was pretty amazing. Some of them connected to the university, some of them outside the university, some of them, very well-accomplished entrepreneurs and doctors and all sorts of things like that. Have you maintained relationships with any of them since?
Yeah, something that I think we'll get to, but I'm now at medical school here, so I'm a first-year medical student here, and I started a student org on campus called Sling Health, and this combines medical students, law students, business students, and engineering students to address medical innovation, and some of those connections are essential for starting that kind of network here.
Yeah, and in that organization, can you share a little bit more about what you've accomplished with that organization as well?
Yeah, we have 6 teams that go through the design process, and so it's kind of before the startup would be, so it's more the device development side of things. And so we have 6 teams that will finish their first year in April, and we're really proud of all the work that they've accomplished.
Yeah, so in this case, your experience, you're able to recognize another need that entrepreneurial students had and try to develop a resource for them, which is pretty impressive. We've had the opportunity to talk about that and interact with some of those students as well. Before we let Allison go, does anyone else have any questions they want to ask Allison about her experience as a student in entrepreneurship and being a part of the startup?
What was the best thing about it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the most exciting part about it is really pushing yourself. At the same time as doing this, I was in my senior design class for engineering, and as many of you might know, that's a very strenuous time, and so really pushing ourselves on a second project. I don't think we would have moved as quickly as we did if we didn't have this. We would have been it would have been a lot slower of a process. They really fast forward you through the process and get you to the people that you need to talk to as immediately as possible.
That's great. It looks like we have a question there.
So what happened with your product?
So we, after the end of the startup, we became clients of the law school through the Entrepreneurship Clinic, and unfortunately, they found an international patent that, well, it wasn't quite an international patent yet, in Israel, that was 2 claims away from being an international patent. One reason we couldn't find it, so lawyers can find that, we just wouldn't have been able to, and it fully covered us, and so therefore we couldn't continue working on the venture.
Sure, go ahead.
How was it balancing doing that whole process while still taking classes and going to school?
It's definitely hard, but if you really believe in what you're doing, I think for us, we were really driven by trying to get this to the people who need it instead of maybe other motivations, and I think that really kept us with the end in sight.
I think one of the things that I would say we saw with Allison and Kyle and their team, Puffberry, was again this concept of they started with an idea and they didn't really at the beginning know what to do with it, but they wanted to have impact. And so they kind of went, they truly went all in to try to figure this out. And one of the things you find out, I think, in an entrepreneurial journey, like the ones you heard Phil talk about last week, the ones you're on, and certainly that Allison shared here, is sometimes you hit obstacles, right? Sometimes things end up being out of your control, but those lessons and things that you learn can remain with you and become very important. And so one of the things, we're certainly extremely proud of Allison for the things she did during the startup competition, But then she's continued to extend her impact using those principles of entrepreneurship in all sorts of ways, including as a medical student, where I would say it's exceptionally hard to try to pull that off. So thank you, Allison, for being here. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, great to see you.
Good to see you too.
See you soon.
All right, so we want to share with you some of the other teams and their progress as well that have been participants in the startup. Many of you have probably heard of, yeah, you can go ahead and pull that up, have probably heard of Neurable. They were one of our participants last year. They've continued to work on their venture and be successful in that. And so we have their video here from part of their presentation last year as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Abi.
And I'm Adam.
And we're Team Neurable. We're a revolutionary brain-computer interface company. And we've developed a system that will allow a user to execute actions using only his or her thoughts. Our tech is faster, more economical, and more convenient than anything available in the market. But before we begin, let's watch a quick video about our journey.
Hi, my name is Ramz Al-Kaid. I'm the CEO of Neurable. And it's my pleasure today to talk to you guys about our story. But not just our story here at the startup, but also about our company. When I was 8 years old, my uncle got into a horrific car accident and lost both his legs. And at that moment, I knew I had to dedicate my life toward creating a world without limitations. And that's truly the mission of Neurable. And so I decided to do my PhD in neuroscience. When we first met here at the startup, we were given 3 tasks: to demonstrate the value of our technology, to find customers, and to acquire them. And what's truly amazing about what we were able to do is some of these customers were only able to communicate and tell us why our technology valued so much because we had Neurable. And that is something that speaks for itself. Not only have we done a lot of development in acquiring customers, such as getting partners like Samsung and Amazon, we also did work within the development of our actual technology. Starting with something that was cumbersome and required gel in about an hour to set up, we went to something that's much more slimmer and can be used in a real-world situation, requiring no gel at all and only taking minutes to actually set up. And that's just the beginning of our technology. Our vision is to have this technology everywhere, to have you be able to walk into your house and tell your Roomba to vacuum, turn on your TV, and really control everything using only your thoughts. This is the future that we want to see. And this future not only helps you and me, but helps millions of people with severe disabilities. My name is Ramz Al-Kaid. I'm the CEO of Neurable. And with your help, we can change the world.
So again, Neurable was one of the teams we had last year. They ended up being our second place winner in last year's the startup competition. And currently they are out in Boston. So after the startup, they went on to raise investment funds to start their company. And as I mentioned, went out to Boston to get some space and expertise and expand their team, to get the support network they needed there, and have since continued to work on their venture as well. And we do have here, there we go, almost. We have one of the founders of Neurable, Adam. Adam, can you hear me okay?
Hey Matt, long time no see.
Yeah, long time no see. It's good to have you here. So while you can't see it, you're in an audience right now of a few hundred students. As you recall from when you were pitching at the startup last year, and so you're familiar with this environment, so imagine them all staring at you. That kid is sticking his tongue out at you as well. So, hey, why don't you tell us a little bit about what compelled you to be a part of this startup and why you thought it would be valuable?
Yeah, for sure, man. It's also good to be back. Just about a year ago, I think. So yeah, the startup was an incredible opportunity. We got to be paired with some amazing mentors, Evan and Adrian, namely. And they were able to introduce us to the venture capital community and really give us the confidence to give us what it took to raise money in the way that we did on the coast. It was just an overall really incredible experience to grow the company while having other obligations going on, life, work, school. So just to be in that ecosystem with all of these other ambitious startups was just a very magical experience for us.
Yeah, and what were some of the hard parts of your experience being in the startup?
Yeah, so, well, just getting a company together while keeping life together, while keeping school somewhat together. All of those contribute, but really just finding your niche, finding your customer, and building a really incredible product around that. Those were some of the hardest challenges, but also what made it all the more fun and all the more worthwhile.
Yeah, one of the things that I remember observing with your team in particular was because you guys were going so hard at working so hard at what you were doing, it ended up kind of fortifying you guys as a team in a different way. And actually your team dynamics changed over time, different people involved over time, but overall it got you to this spot where you were a lot more, I would say, in a position of strength based on that intense experience that you had in trying to develop your venture.
You know, it's been so incredible from TechArb, the University of Michigan Startup Incubator, then to Spark, the Ann Arbor City Incubator, being homeless. Now I live with two of my coworkers. Seriously, I was homeless. It's been such an incredible experience overall. Just living and learning and being able to go on this adventure with people you love, that's all good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you tell them a little bit more about what it is you're doing now, where you're at, and the status of Neurable?
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure. Actually, we just presented at a conference called AR in Action the other day. Got to hang with some pretty cool people. But what Neurable is doing is we're trying to invent a new computer to human interaction method. So what we're building is a method for people to actually interact with software and devices, but using only your brain and all in real time. And right now we're marketing our efforts towards the virtual and augmented reality sector. So you'll be able to blast a fireball in the somewhat near future using your brain.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Any questions for Adam before we let him go here too? How many of you had seen Neurable before? You read? Yeah, a few of you had seen it. Any of you have ideas for the next thing that Neurable should use their technology for? So I'll repeat it for you. Yeah, exactly, right there.
Hi Adam, I'm Armin. Great to hear about your story. At some point in the video you pointed out that you guys are have partnered with Amazon, and I guess the other company was Google. Can you tell us more about the process? How was the process like? And more details about that? Thank you.
So what he was asking is, he said, I don't know, to what extent did you hear that? Could you hear it at all?
I
didn't think so. All right, so you guys had mentioned working with Google and Amazon, and so his question is, what has become of those kind of partnerships that you guys started to develop during the time you were in the startup?
Yeah, we've got to meet with some pretty incredible companies. Can't disclose to what extent we have, but those are all working relationships, and what we're building right now, it's called a software development kit. So what we're aiming to do is give developers the ability to apply the Neurable technology so that anyone can apply Neurable control to whatever application or system they see fit. And when we get that set, then
awesome.
I'll give you guys an update.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great. Well, thanks, Adam, for spending a few minutes with us here. Really appreciate it.
See you
Give
guys.
Adam a round of applause, too. All right, and then what we'd also like to do is give you a brief update on one of the other teams that was involved in the startup last year, Woodside Distributors. So Woodside Distributors ended up winning the startup. And we would like to show you a video of some of their work from the time that they were in the startup as well.
Now we are going to shift gears away from neurology and medical devices, and we are going to welcome the indomitable Woodside Distributors.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. In the past 3 weeks since we last took this stage, we've been up to a lot. Here you can see our Woodside team with hands-on training, so we don't use any sort of training module or manual. Alex and Mitch, as well as myself, spend time with each of our team members developing. We currently have 11 University of Michigan undergraduate students working on Woodside distributors. On the right, you can see myself as well as Bailey and Danielle with a supplier that we flew out to New York for a quick day trip to get better pricing. It worked. Last time, we suggested that with the $15,000 prize money from this competition, we can net $500,000 of increased revenue. So we're going to talk about how we do that. Since this competition started in December, our revenue has grown 80%. Our profit margin is between 5 to 10% each month, and on average, it's grown 2%, which is a very significant amount. When we think about continued growth like this, it makes Alex, Mitch, myself, and the Woodside team very excited. With fast-paced growth, we do run into challenges. We've run into the challenge of efficient training. There are 3 of us that are working with 8 other students every week. To do this, we've reached out to mentor support around Ann Arbor. We're working with Bill Crane, who I think you guys might be familiar with Bill. He runs Industry Star, which started out of TechArb. Thanks, Tom. And Bill has been working with us on how to train staff efficiently, because he's done it. Additionally, we're working on...
All right, we'll stop it there. So Woodside Distributors is a company that distributes products. They sell it through various online marketplaces, including Amazon. And as you saw, through the process of the startup, they were able to grow their revenues significantly.
Hey, everyone.
Danny Sheridan and his team have continued to have a very focus on trying to interact with students and give them the opportunity to be a part of small businesses. And so through the process of the startup, they were able to grow their company. They were able to learn how to lead other students, as he was starting to say there, how to train other people to be a part of what they were doing. So a huge amount of growth that they had. Now, Woodside Distributors, most of their team is actually on a study abroad this semester. And so just time differences and all of that, they weren't able to connect with us live. But Danny thought it would be really important to share with you a few of his thoughts as well on the startup.
Hey everyone, this is Danny Sheridan from Woodside Distributors. The leaders of Woodside Distributors are studying abroad in places like Barcelona, Spain, Manchester, England, St. Gallen, Switzerland, and even Copenhagen. So we're bummed that we couldn't be with you, but we're glad that we can be represented through video. After winning the CFE's startup competition last year, we immediately went to work on expanding our business by using the prize money and grants to hire more University of Michigan students. 10 of us spent the summer in Ann Arbor, working on improving product lines, opening new accounts, and expanding revenue streams through e-commerce distribution. We're happy to say that we've exceeded our goals. In 2015, we achieved $2 million of revenue, and after winning the startup competition in 2016, we surpassed $3.5 million of revenue. We're really excited for what comes next. We want to thank the Center for Entrepreneurship for connecting us to amazing mentors like Adrian Fortino, as well as giving us publicity and help while we needed to hire more students. We were successful in adding more University of Michigan undergraduates to our team. We are all so fortunate for the ability to study at the University of Michigan. With this being only week 2 of 13 for Entrepreneurship 407, I'm jealous that you guys get to experience speakers like Greg Gage of Backyard Brains live on February 3rd. Luckily, Matt Gibson and the CFE staff puts all of those videos on YouTube for people like me to keep up to date. Good luck to all of those participating in the startup competition now in 2017. Adios from Barcelona.
All right. So we aren't able to ask Danny any questions live right now, but as you can see, the amount of growth that these teams experience throughout this competition is tremendous. And these teams who've been through this, so Allison and Neurable and Woodside Distributors have reached out to us saying that they wanted to share with you the impact of this, and that this process of being able to flip from having judges who critique you to mentors and coaches who help you make progress is an exceptionally effective model for helping these young ventures learn and grow. And so again, over the next 3 months in this class, You're going to have the opportunity to see all sorts of growth and all sorts of ideas on the stage, and to be able to watch how they learn and grow and make progress in their ventures. So we're excited to be able to do that together as well. Just real quick, over the past couple years, we've had over 200 student participants, hundreds of hours of mentoring from these experienced mentors, coaches, these venture capitalists, entrepreneurs, hundreds of students who've been able to be a part of it. We've already talked about how students who were in it were able to get intellectual property, patents, and things like that, as well as be a part of accelerators, incubators, get venture capital funding. The progress that they've made is tremendous, and the impact they've had. And so, again, this model works. So what I'd like to do with the time that we have now is to have you think about, starting with, everything starts with an idea. So I want you to think about what is an idea that you have that you think could be worth $100. All right, if you were to act on that idea, of course, an idea by itself isn't really worth anything, but if you were to have a way to try to take your idea and turn it to $100, like, do you have an idea? And I'll give you a real simple example. The other day, my son, he noticed on our bookshelf that we had some of my old textbooks there. Maybe your parents have some of their old textbooks on their bookshelf too. And so we looked at them, and we actually went onto Amazon and tried to price out all these books. There were about 10 of them. It turns out 5 of them were actually worth something, and so he posted them on Amazon. And 2 days ago, I got a deposit in my bank account for $137. So that was my son and a $100 idea. So take a second, turn to someone beside you, and try to share with them an idea that you think could be worth $100. Go ahead. Who thinks they have a $100 idea? All right. Oh, here we go. We have one right over here.
Oh,
there you go.
I mean, you can like buy broken items and repair it and sell it for sometimes more than $100.
Okay. So like what kind of broken item do you have in mind?
Phones, like you can, buying like an LCD, buying a digitizer, repairing it, spending those out. It'd take maybe 3 to 4 hours depending on the product, and just flipping it. Even on college campuses, it'd be pretty simple to do that type of thing.
All right. Have you ever done that type of thing?
Yeah, in high school.
Awesome. All right. Good job. All right. Let's hear it. What was your name? Senket. Senket. All right. Thank you, Senket. All right. We're going to challenge you just a little bit more. Who thinks they have, actually, can you flip it for me? There we go. Who thinks you have a $10,000 idea? All right. Everyone, take just a second. Share with someone beside you a $10,000 idea. All right, they tell me this is amazing.
It's called Donde Está El Baño, or DEEB for short. It's an app like Yelp for bathrooms. So you can review bathrooms, say like, oh, it's great toilet paper here, good quiet spot, and you can find a spot wherever you're at. Out of town, Donde Está El Baño.
All right, we got some real applause for that one. All right, there was one more. What do we got? Did we have one more here in the middle? All right, go for it.
Did you take your idea? Sorry? Did you take your idea? Was yours the bathroom?
So much better.
Okay.
Let's be honest. Yeah, I mean, mine's just, it's a little bit, be faster to market. We already have a rock climbing wall in our barn, so we would just, build another one on the other side, have bouldering wall. We already have auto belays, so we have 90% of the work done. All we have to do is market and take out insurance, and then we could have a little rock climbing gym on our property.
Excellent. Thank you. How many of you want to be millionaires someday? Quite a few of you. Okay, that's okay. You don't have to be ashamed of that. That's okay. Some of you are like really timid. All right, what's that? That is your goal?
It's not a goal, but it's something I would be happy with.
You'd be happy with it. All right, so could you come up with an idea that you think could be worth $1 million instead? All right. Okay, think about it for a second. Turn to your partner or someone close to you and share with them your $1 million idea. All right, who would be willing to come up? Who's willing to come up to the stage to share their $1 million idea? You are? All right, come on up. Yeah. All right, let's hear your idea.
Okay, so my idea is that generally, it's basically a jersey rental service. So it's like if people want to go to sporting events, you don't go like super often. You don't want to pay like the $120 for what a jersey is. So you run like a system where you can send it out to somebody for, let's say, $15 for the game that they're going to, and then you take it back, you wash it, and then you can like redistribute it that way. So it's like a one-time price.
All right, how many of you like that idea? All right, great. Okay, one more here.
So a lot of houses in America have your standard oil heating system. So what ultimately ends up happening is that the major issue you run into is how do you get this heating system to the rooms that you actually use without wasting any energy. Now, usually those types of systems would be very, very expensive. So creating an affordable way to monitor which rooms are being used in the HVAC unit to be able to control how the heating actually gets distributed. Sure, you have Nest and technology like that lets you connect with your entire housing system, but the issue is that doing a room-by-room analysis, real-time, and being able to accordingly adjust with old technology is an immense challenge, and I think that would be worth $1 million. At least selling it up for one house would be $5,000 at least.
All right, good idea. Okay, I have you here for just 20 more seconds as we wrap up. Now, ideas, in my view, actually aren't worth anything unless you do something about them. All right, now these two did something about them. They were willing to come up to the stage to share. And one of them, their idea is going to be worth 15 Jimmy John dollars. All right? Now, but I need your help. We're gonna do a vote here. Loudest vote. All right, whoever gets the loudest applause is going to validate that their idea is worth $15 at Jimmy John's. All right, so here we go, real quick. Jersey rental. Connected energy systems. Pretty even. Wow. All right, how do we tie break this? You guys were like, what's that? Rock, paper, scissors. All right, I'm all for it. Rock, paper, scissors.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
All right, hey, congratulations. All right, hey, thanks everyone.
So maybe it wasn't so easy for me, but I was an engineering major. So I get to talk to you a little bit today about what you're doing in entrepreneurship. So you have this try, risk, fail, do theme that's part of CFE. I want to put context around it today and how I've lived out try, risk, fail, do.